Hey guys, so my name is Lyndsi Schultz and I wanted to share with you my testimony and my progress with the LadyBoss program. So I am going to start from the beginning of my whole entire journey before LadyBoss and just kind of lead you up to how I got there. So growing up, I've been a bigger girl my entire life. And with that being said, I got bullied a lot because kids are mean, you know? And it really got bad when I was in high school, not so much like elementary school, middle school, which I still got it like trickling here and there, you know, but it wasn't that bad. My freshman year, I actually joined cheerleading squad, and that's whenever I was like, I was still bigger but lighter, if that makes any sense whatsoever. And I ended up quitting halfway through my sophomore year because it got pretty bad. So I dealt with bullying all 4 years of my high school, with it getting progressively worse with the more weight that I gained and the more like higher up in levels that I got. So basically, when it started to get really bad, it was my junior year of high school. And at this point, I remember this day like yesterday. It was pretty bad. So I was walking down the hallway going to classes for like a class change, and this guy bumped into me and he's like, "Oh, your skin's really cold." Oh yeah, I forgot. Fat people have poor blood circulation. And then he pushed me into the lockers. And when he pushed me so hard into these lockers that my back had like the indentation from the lock on the locker. You could see the actual numbers like in my back as an outline. So how hard he like shoved me into these lockers for me being overweight or having poor blood, blah, blah. I can't even talk, or having poor blood circulation, as he would say, you know? So that right there, you would think I'd have got my butt in a gear, but no, I didn't. And so a couple months after that is when me gaining weight really like took off, if you could say that. That November, December, I lost my best friend and her boyfriend to 4 terrible people who took both of their lives. And that right there, I didn't eat for 2 weeks straight. And then it turned from not eating into emotional eating. At the time, also, I did have a car, and I was working 2 jobs, and I was working at Pizza Hut and Wendy's. So my food choices that were like available to me when I was working were not the healthiest choices. So it was just kind of like a downhill spiral of poor choices, like what I was like eating, and just like emotional stress and all that other stuff. So towards the end of my junior year, the bullying continued. I'm still, to this day, still dealing with emotional problems from my friend. And the end of my junior year, I ended up talking to the school counselor because she was asking people what job path they wanted to take, because that was her job as a school counselor. And I told her I wanted to be a forensic scientist. And she told me that by the looks of my math and my science scores, I was not smart enough to do that. So me being naive, and in high school, I was like, okay, I'm not smart enough to do that, you know? So I started thinking about it, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to join the Air Force, because if I'm going to join any branch of the military, I'm going to join the Air Force. So I went in and I told the school counselor that, because she pretty much told me to choose a different career pathway and to let her know. So I was telling her that I was going to join the Air Force, and she kind of laughed at me and told me with my weight that wasn't happening. So that following week, my mom actually took me up to the Air Force recruiting office, and they were really nice to me until I stepped on the scale. And I remember I was 65 pounds over my max weight. I have hair all in my face, but I was 65 pounds over my max weight, and they wanted absolutely nothing to do with me. So I was thinking about it, and this is when the Navy was still cutting females' hair for boot camp, and that was the one reason why I did not want to join the Navy. I know it sounds really stupid, like a stupid reason, but I did not want to join because they cut off all your hair. And but yeah, I still went and I talked over to the Navy recruiter, and of course I was still 65 pounds over my max weight. But the difference between the Navy and the Air Force recruiting station where I was from, the Navy worked with me and invited me to their PT sessions, even though I wasn't in the DEP program, which is the program you're in when you're about to go to boot camp. They let me join them, and I joined a gym, and I started going to the gym twice a day because I was like, how bad do you want this? You know? So I actually ended up losing about 40 pounds in about 3-4 months. And I ended up going to MEPS, which is the processing center where you get all your medical stuff taken care of. You get your job picked, you sign all your paperwork, get all your security clearances. And yeah, so I went through all my medical stuff, right? And they ended up weighing me. And of course I was over, so I had to be taped. And I thought I was good. They taped me and I was like, am I good? They're like, yeah, you're good. No, they didn't tell me till the end of the day that I was 1% over my max taping. So I was very disappointed in myself. My recruiter was very disappointed in me, and it was bad. So they actually scheduled me a date for 2 weeks after that to go back, and I did the very unhealthy thing of crash dieting, which I actually tried all those diets. I've tried pills, I've tried shakes, I've tried everything. And if they do work, they only work for a short amount of time, and then the weight comes back, and it comes back twice as much. So I have learned that, and I ended up going back to MEPS though, and when I went back, they did my taping, and I was 2% under. So they went in so I could pick my job, because I wasn't allowed to pick my job the first time because I wasn't in the body fat standards. So I went back, and there was one job available. And originally they sent me at the beginning of the month so more jobs would be open, because I did work pretty hard to lose that weight and to get there, but there was one job open. And they offered me a job as an aviation support equipment technician. And my lowest score on my ASVAB, which is like your entry level test, was in mechanics. So I was like, they would give me this job. And I ended up taking it because I was like, I don't care what job they give me. I could be scrubbing toilets. I don't care, as long as I join the Navy, you know? So I ended up taking it, and I went to boot camp like a month and a half later. And I was absolutely terrified. I am not gonna lie. Ever since growing up, I had really bad separation anxiety, especially from my mom. Like, I'd go to sleepovers and call her at like 11 p.m. crying, like, come get me, you know? So I went to boot camp, and a week before boot camp, I went and I got my hair cut, because I was like, I'm gonna do this so they don't screw it up, you know? So I got my hair cut to maybe like, we'll say about shoulder length. So it was about here, right? Yeah. Girl, I got to boot camp, and they literally took my short hair that I had, took the buzzers for guys, and went bzzzt, and it was like, ooh, like here. It was bad. But boot camp, I learned a lot. It definitely shaped me as like a better person. Like, them building you down, and then not building you down, breaking you down, and building you back up is absolutely true. But it definitely was an experience I feel like a lot of people need to have. So I went to boot camp, and I ended up losing like 5 pounds maybe in boot camp, just because I don't know if it was muscle or what. I don't know. But I was the lowest body fat percentage I have ever been in my entire life. And I ended up graduating in January of 2013. Was it 2013? It was 2013. Ended up graduating January 4th. And it was cold. I'm from Savannah, Georgia. And I was in Chicago for boot camp. Never seen snow before in my entire life. And it was cold. So I had my A school, which is your first school you go to after the Navy. I had that school over in, was it Pensacola? So I graduated there, and then I got 3-year orders to Bahrain, which is about 10 miles from Saudi Arabia. So I was there for 3 whole years, and from there I sustained injury after injury and sickness after sickness. It was not the best, right? So what I mean by injury after injury is back in 2014, I was playing volleyball, because over in Bahrain, I got into the best shape ever. I was going to the gym for 2 hours a day. I was rock climbing every day, and I was looking pretty good, you know, because there's nothing else to do there but work out. And I was looking pretty good. We were playing volleyball with the command I was at, and it was a court volleyball. I didn't have knee pads on, and I hit the court extremely hard. and my knee was killing me, and I was just kind of kicking it out, trying to walk it off. I'm gonna be fine, you know. The next morning I could not walk at all, and I had to call somebody I worked with to come get me and take me to base medical because I was not able to walk. So I ended up doing I can't even talk. I ended up doing physical therapy for 3 months, not being successful. I asked for an MRI. They told me I still need to complete more sessions, and it was so bad I just went to the emergency room. Emergency room told me that I had a partial MCL tear and a grade 3 meniscus tear, and they wanted to do surgery. So I did the surgery for the grade 3 meniscus tear, and this was in April of 2015, I think. But they did the surgery, and I woke up from my surgery, and my doctors were like, hey, we did the surgery, but it wasn't your meniscus. We misdiagnosed you, and it's partial ACL, partial MCL tears. So I was actually changing my duty station at the time. And when that happened, I was like, you know what? I just got to get the heck out of here so I can get my stuff fixed. So I ended up going to Jacksonville for another school, which was fantastic because it's like close to where I live because I'm from Savannah, Georgia. So it's very close to where I live. So I had family support, and they did an MRI, and then they gave me a completely different diagnosis, which was fantastic. So they ended up saying that I had bursitis, and I ended up going from there to Washington, where I'm at now, and saw a different doctor who told me that something completely different. So I just keep getting the runaround, and then friends that were not supportive, being told that I was faking my injuries happened a lot just because it was so prolonged. I was getting so many different diagnoses, and me working out was very, very hard to do. Plus, after my knee surgery that I had, the first one, I was by myself. I didn't have a lot of support for people taking care of me after my surgery, and I gained 45 pounds. So that was, I would say I stepped on the scale like last October, and I was at like 235, 236, almost back where I started, and I literally cried. So I remember getting here and seeing one of Kaelin's like sponsored Facebook posts, and I was like, what is this LadyBoss thing about, right? So I clicked on it, and she gives you a free 2-week kickstart, but I was like, if I get a free 2-week kickstart, I'm not going to be determined. I'm not going to stick to it because I'm not paying for it. You know what I mean? So I ended up just signing up for it and started paying for the monthly services for it. And I was still like in a mentally not a good place, like physically not a good place, and it's all of this stuff. It was bad. So yeah, I ended up actually starting LadyBoss in December of 2016. But it was kind of off and on, and I was kind of filling out the program, so I didn't actually like really start till about January of 2017. And since January of 2017, I have lost about 37, I'll just drop that, about 37 pounds since January, which is like awesome, you know, and it's nothing hard. Her recipes are amazing, you know, and then also if you join LadyBoss, you get access to this awesome Facebook group, and the group alone, like the support is amazing. Usually women are very catty and unsupportive, and this is just like thousands and thousands of like women that are just super supportive, and I feel like they're family even though I've never met most of them, you know what I mean? So it's more than just a program. To me, at least, it's more than just a program. You get an app that has meal plans, workouts. If you don't have access to the gym, it's got these workouts called Fit at Homes, which Kaelin wrote, and they really kick your butt in a good way, but it's still like, it kicks your butt. So yeah, it's just, my progress has been unbelievable. My support has been unbelievable. I have noticed that it has changed me as a person for the better, not just physically, but mentally as well. Like, I'm more confident. I don't think as negatively anymore. I used to have really bad anxiety and PTSD, and it's actually helped with that too, if that makes any sense. It's so weird, right? I'm just a happier person all around. I feel like I'm less selfish of a person, and it's all because, literally all because of the Lady Boss program. Every single bit of it, because I noticed I was in such like a bad place, and then now I'm just like, hey guys, you know. So it's an awesome program. So I want to say thank you to the Lady Boss staff and to Kaelin for everything. But yeah, so that's like my story pretty much, for the stuff that I have not forgotten in this amount of time. But yeah, that's my story. So yeah, I suggest you guys check it out because it is fantastic. So I will see you guys later.